Welcome everybody to a special episode of the Pondcast. Today's episode, Greninja Raid Battle Strats. I'm your host Draco, and let's get into it. So once again we find ourselves with a special raid event for a Pokemon that cannot be found in Scarlet or Violet. This will be for Greninja with the Mightiest Mark. Now, Greninja is a Water Dark Pokemon from Generation 6. Its abilities are Torrent. When its HP is 1/3 its max, the water type moves it uses are increased by 50%. Protean. Before Pokemon uses a move, it becomes a pure Pokemon of that type. This works once per switch-in. And Battle Bond. When the user knocks out a target, its attack, special attack, and speed stat are all boosted by one stage per battle. Its base stats are 530. With HP being 72, attack being 95, defense at 67, special attack at 103, special defense at 71, and speed of 122. This Greninja will be using the Terra typing Poison, which will take 2 times damage from ground and psychic types, as well as half damage from fighting, poison, bug, grass, and fairy types. Now some of the podcasters and friends of the channel have been kicking around some ideas as to what to bring into this particular battle. Starting with Podcaster Gurin, he suggested utilizing a Gallade, being a psychic fighting type, would not only take advantage of the poison typing that Greninja would be, but also help resist some of the dark moves that Greninja may end up using against psychic types. Its ability would be justified, again capitalizing on being hit with a dark type move, bolstering its own power. And the item given Leftovers, as well as utilizing the moves Sword Stance, Light Screen, Life Dew, and Psycho Cut. Light Screen to help once again with damage mitigation against those dark type moves, as well as Life Dew to keep it up, Sword Stance to boost its attack even further, and Psycho Cut off of the high physical stats to punch through that particular typing. Next up, we have Podcaster Sunryu, who offered up a Vaporeon with Wise Glasses and Water Absorb. This being set up for, again, longevity, because if Greninja does use a water type attack, it will only heal Vaporeon. This particular setup is focusing again on negating one type of damage, the water attacks, while causing it to be healed, and utilizing Acid Armor, Calm Mind to help boost its defensive stats, Charm, and Stored Power to make use of those defensive stats in a similar way that we saw with Slowbro. And of course the Terra type for this one would also be Psychic to again boost that Stored Power damage. And friends of the channel, CluchMaster Gaming, offered up Klefki, utilizing Leftovers, the ability Prankster, also utilizing Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Thunder Wave to get off those boosting stats, and also switching into a stored power user. However, the Terra typing here would be Steel to help negate any poison type attacks that Greninja may be using. Another Pokemon that had been brought up in conversation was Grestron, because of its Storm Gem ability, would also help negate one of Greninja's attacks against you. Any water attacks used on Grestron would become negated and boost its attack stat, wherein then it can use moves like Earth Power or capitalize on that boosted attack stat and use Earthquake once it Terra types into ground typing. And finally, the last Pokemon we're going to bring up today is going to be one I'm most likely going to be using, and that would be a Cloudseid. Cloudseid, being a poison ground type, would be resistant to any poison attacks, but also has the ability Water Absorb to once again capitalize on getting heals when Greninja does decide to use any type of water attacks against me. The item I'll be using is Life Orb, and the moves will be Yawn, Stockpile, Recover, and Earthquake. And the idea here is to yawn on Greninja long enough for you to be able to stockpile a few shots and use Recover as needed to then Terra type into the ground type for a double stab Earthquake. If you choose to use one of our builds or come up with one of your own, there's a couple of things that you do need to keep in mind while planning out your Pokemon for this raid. For starters, Greninja is a water dark type, and dark typing does have an advantage over psychic typing. Even though Greninja will be sporting the poison type Terra typing, that dark type will still have stab effect. We are leaning towards this being a Battle Bond Greninja, so should it knock out one of the players, Its attack stat, its special attack stat, and its speed stat will get a 1-stage boost across the board. That being said, other things of note, that Greninja is a dark type, and so it does have the moves Night Slash, which can be devastating against the Psychic type, but also something to keep in mind is that Greninja can also have the move Lick and Shadow Sneak, although not very damaging, very highly effective against Psychic types. Greninja also sports a variety of flying type moves, such as Aerial Ace and Acrobatics, which it can use effectively. There's also moves like Trailblaze in case of ground type, as well as Icy Wind, Icy Punch, Ice Beam, and Blizzard. What are your thoughts on our builds? What are the suggestions you would make? What builds would you bring to this battle? Let us know down below. Also be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and happy hunting to us all. And as always, have a great day. Bye!